Hello everybody, I'm here with an update for you guys from the hub. I'm here with John Stallman.
Aloha, good evening.
And I'm Philip, and we're going to give you guys a quick update today, just kind of summarizing the tilt signals, and don't have a huge amount of time tonight, but we'll catch you guys up on the most relevant stuff and kind of save our longer discussions for tomorrow or the next day or whenever next chance we have to get back into it. So thank you guys for joining and for watching. We're down here at the hub. The hub is going to be open tomorrow from 10 to 8. So I'll personally be down here as long as possible tomorrow and talk to anyone who wants to come by. The hub is also still passing out food and supplies to evacuees from the mandatory evacuation areas, that list of neighborhoods they've talked about before. So that's all good. So anyone in person tomorrow at the hub? For now, let's get into it. And we're gonna make it short and do longer stuff later on. So thank you guys for joining in. We'll start going through here the tilt meter first. So here is our current tilt meter. Looking at the tilt from Summit and Rift Zone in the past week. As usual, we can kind of see our overall pattern. We can look at the higher ones also. For anyone who's wondering, this is a little data gap. Instruments stopped transmitting and recording data in here, so it just kind of makes a straight line from one to the other. It's kind of missing. We don't know what happens, but since it went down, it doesn't matter as much. So, look at the scale. Look at how tiny the scale is, from 0.15 to minus 0.25. It's barely even worth looking at. And this one from 1.5 to minus 1 is a little more relevant, but still not a whole lot. I still like to look at them at this bigger scale the past week, where it's still only looking at 2.5 to minus 2. And you can kind of see that we had a pulse of inflation coming up, and then it's deflated going down, and we almost have two different cycles going on here, like a longer cycle of, up, down, and superimposed on it, we have another oscillation pattern as well. So it's more obvious in the Summit signal than it is in the Rift Zone signal. One other interesting thing to note is look at the amount of fuzz we have, the amount of wiggle in our line, right? Whoops. There's on the keyboard there. Really thick up here and kind of getting thinner and thinner, and down here at the back end, it's not really wiggling as much at all. So that seems to be a positive sign for those who are looking for the lull to continue. So, I see my cousin Peter is on. Hello, Peter. Good to see you. And John, what do you want to add about the tilt plot?
Tilt plot. Well, again, we're dealing with very tiny changes. And just when we think it might be doing something like inflating, like during the county meeting on Tuesday, was this period here where it inflated over 24 hours. And if that continued, that might amount to something more real, but you see it deflated again here. And so we're still dealing with very, very, very small changes. One thing I was looking at earlier today is that it is almost starting to look more like our normal inflation, or it's a deflation inflation cycle actually, because we had this one here that kind of comes down slow and then it inflates pretty quickly after that, a significant degree. It looked like it was going to do that again here and come up steeply, but then it didn't. And so basically, the tilt plot is only giving us, really what it's showing us is that this flat line phenomenon is persisting. We're wiggling, there's some movement, some slight inflation, slight deflation, but it amounts to still a flat line. And remember, the longer we stay flatline, that's more and more of an indication that maybe it is over, maybe it's stopped. So the longer this kind of state perpetuates, we get more and more confidence that it's actually ceased at this point,
Right.
So that's really the one signal that all of this tilt signal is starting to point to, is that, look, it has remained flat. And so that's one of the most important things that it's starting to reveal over time.
Right, and so just one thing to kind of reinforce is that all these signals in here, there are such small amounts, even though it looks big on this way a plot's gone, right? I've said before, I want to see at least 5 or if not 10 microradians of inflation, for example, and we look at that range, just like 1, 2, 3, maybe call it 4 boxes to be generous, and that makes it about 2 microradians. So that's still not enough. That's still not enough to convince me there's actually lava doing any moving around on there. It could just be the gas or the rocks or whatever else, and so nothing convincing there. That's why we're still in our flatline mode, essentially a big picture thing. So that's the tilt update. There hasn't been a whole lot of significant changes otherwise. I can kind of, I haven't recently looked at the earthquakes, but I can give it a quick load here and see what our earthquakes actually are. So I'll show you that. And here's our earthquake page. It only shows 2, actually. Kind of one looks like a deeper Pahala one, perhaps. Yep. That's almost 30 kilometers deep. And the one over here on the south flank, which is, they're actually saying there might be aftershocks from that big 6.9 for months coming on. So we can expect all of that happening in the area here too. And we have also, heard in various avenues that everyone is in fairly uniform agreement. These things are kind of settling earthquakes for now. So we'll have to wait and see what can happen. I see a quick question I'm going to take here. It says, is it possible for someone to ever have lava again? Absolutely yes. I was doing a quick tabulation the other day, and I saw that since '52, we've had a maximum of 4 years without lava. That was between 55 and 59. So that actually may be relevant because we have had a similar eruption in 55, possibly with a lot more volume. But in the grand scheme of things, the thing doesn't stay quiet so long. Almost 88% of the time, it's less than 2 years before lava comes back into the summit in particular.
Right, even after 1960 Kapoho, it erupted with a year later.
Yeah.
And 1960 was pretty huge eruption.
Exactly, yeah. So I'll be surprised if it doesn't come back up within the next couple of years, basically. A question, the red lines, I've put on here the layer of, these are the fault lines. And these are known fault lines in the area that are mapped in this map layer, so that's what those are. So that gives you an idea, of where earthquakes are kind of expected, so no big surprise there. All right, so maybe one to pull up for you guys before we kind of sum it up here. And this is a picture from Bruce Amori from this morning. This is posted an extreme exposure fine art gallery. I believe it may also be shared on Tracker. I'll have to check on that. But this is a picture of Fissure 8 this morning at 6 a.m. It's Thursday, and you guys can see how far down the hole it is. There's a lot of red. You can see a lot of red, oxidized, baked, rusted, however you want to think of it, iron-rich rock on the sides of the cone that's kind of collapsing in. And down here at the very, very bottom, I'm going to zoom it in so you guys can actually see it. There's a little spot of red. Looks like there's a couple other spots, maybe right there, and maybe right in there, kind of thing. And John and I were talking, and he points out that this is likely a little pad of lava with a crust over it. And the way that it looks like it's actually possibly draining back in and mostly frozen, not coming out, it may be that it's kind of doing some small effect of gas pistoning, kind of just almost like coughing up some whatever is stuck in its throat, and then it's just kind of
oozing
back, and it might do that a couple more times. But that's basically like, seems like the last bit of breath it might have to push out lava as this kind of thing is happening on. So this may actually happen for a little while longer, but it does indicate that it's still backing off and going deeper.
Right. Well, once again, with this image, you can see how little information we're analyzing now to try and get a clue. And we're looking at a tiny pond, possibly a pond of crusted lava that is only exposing that little bit of glow, and it looks like there could be some cracks that are glowing red through the crust here. But just like Philip's describing, it's hard to see if this is like a churning little puddle with a crust over it, or if it's just a pad that erupted and drained back in on itself. And either way, it's really small and it's way down in the vent. However, it's there. So as long as we're seeing that glow of red, we can't really start the timer on that 1 month kind of countdown we thought for the pause. And when we say that, it's worth mentioning, the idea that a month is kind of the average. This isn't like an official way we determine if it's over. It's just a ballpark to kind of think about. And so as long as we're still seeing that tiny little speck of lava down there in the vent, we're not really starting the clock on the pause from a certain point of view. So that's why we're looking at such tiny detail in that little red speck in there.
Yeah, that decides whether we call it a lull, which means the lava is not coming out as much, to a pause where there is no lava.
Right, and we can't technically start the pause until there's no lava. So it's technically a lull from a certain point of view.
Right.
From a certain point of view.
So there we have it. We're still waiting, still in our wait game. A couple other kind of quick things is that we attended the talk story meeting with the National Park tonight in Pahoa, and I won't give you guys like a full comprehensive report, but basically can say it went well. The park seemed very receptive to what the residents of Pahoa were saying, which is in large part to involve the community of Pahoa within the park's plans to bring visitors to the island. Kind of keep it at that. So lots of different avenues to do that kind of thing, and so we'll have to just give you guys more report on that a little later on, but it's basically interesting things came out we'll kind of bring up as the days go on.
It was neat that, you know, the community was welcoming the park, and the park was like, really? You know, the community understands that the park is a big part of determining the economy down here, and so it was interesting to see how welcoming they were for the idea of having the park involved somehow near this eruption site. And it was also really interesting that they're like, Ranger John, and I was like, I'm not a ranger, and they're like, yes you are, once a ranger always a ranger. So I was like, thanks guys, those are my people. It was good to see some of them.
All right, so just our little quick update here. I'm gonna keep it short tonight, and we'll bring you guys more discussion of evolving topics and, you know, more pictures. We have more pictures that we've been kind of collecting. You know, Scott Wilson posted some as well, I believe, so you guys can look for those. Bruce has got a whole set, maybe 20 pictures or so you guys can check all those out as well. I'm gonna kind of keep it quick, keep it brief here, and leave it at that. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will get back to you guys again tomorrow. Until then, we will say,
Stay classy, Puna.